So one of the incredible stories on the business, on the leadership side is what Google has done over the past year. So I think it's fair to say that Google was losing on the LLM product side a year ago with Gemini 1.5, and now it's winning with Gemini 2.5. And you took the helm and you led this effort. What did it take to go from, let's say, quote unquote, losing to quote unquote winning in the span of a year?
Yeah, well, firstly, it's an absolutely incredible team that we have, led by Corey and Jeff Dean and Oriel and the amazing team we have on Gemini. Absolutely world class. So you can't do it without the best talent. And of course, we have a lot of great compute as well. But then it's the research culture we've created, right? And basically coming together both different groups in Google, there was Google Brain, world-class team, and then the old DeepMind, and pulling together all the best people and the best ideas and gathering around to make the absolute greatest system we could. And it was been hard, but we're all very competitive. And we, love research. This is so fun to do. And it's great to see our trajectory. It wasn't a given, but we're very pleased with the where we are, and the rate of progress is the most important thing. So if you look at where we've come from 2 years ago to 1 year ago to now, I think we call it relentless progress, along with relentless shipping of that progress, is being very successful. And it's unbelievably competitive. The whole AI space, with some of the greatest entrepreneurs and leaders and companies in the world all competing now, because everyone's realized how important AI is. And it's very, been pleasing for us to see that progress.
Google's a gigantic company. Can you speak to the natural things that happen in that case? Is the bureaucracy that emerges? Like, you want to be careful, like, the natural kind of, there's meetings and there's
Yeah.
managers and that, like, what are some of the challenges from a leadership perspective breaking through that in order to, like you said, ship, like
Yeah.
the number of products,
Yeah.
Gemini related products that's been shipped over the past year is just insane.
Right, it is. Yeah, exactly. That's what relentlessness looks like. I think it's a question of, like, any big company, ends up having a lot of layers of management and things like that. Is sort of the nature of how it works. But I still operate, and I was always operating with old DeepMind as a startup still. Large one, but still as a startup. And that's what we still act like today with Google DeepMind, and acting with decisiveness and the energy that you get from the best smaller organizations. And we try to get the best of both worlds, where we have this incredible billions of users, surfaces, incredible products that we can power up with our AI and our research. And that's amazing. And you can, that's very few places in the world you can get that, do incredible world-class research on the one hand, and then plug it in and improve billions of people's lives the next day. That's a pretty amazing combination. And we're continually fighting and cutting away bureaucracy to allow the research culture and the relentless shipping culture to flourish. And I think we've got a pretty good balance, whilst being responsible with it, as you have to be as a large company, and also with a number of, huge product surfaces that we have.
So a funny thing you mentioned about, like, the surface with the billion. I had a conversation with a guy named brilliant guy here at the British Museum called Irvin Finkel. He's a world expert at cuneiforms, which is a ancient writing on tablets, and he doesn't know about ChatGPT or Gemini. He doesn't even know anything about AI. But his first encounter with this AI is AI mode on
Yes.
Google.
Yes.
He's like, "Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
This AI mode?" And then, it's just a reminder that there's a large part of the world that doesn't know about this AI thing.
Yeah,
And
I know. It's funny because if you live on X and Twitter, and I mean, it's sort of, at least my feed, it's all AI, and there's certain places where, in the valley, and certain pockets where everyone's just, all they're thinking about is AI. But a lot of the normal world hasn't come across it yet. But
and that's a great responsibility to their first interaction.
yeah.
The grand scale of the rural India or anywhere across the world, like,
Right.
you get to.
Right. And we want it to be as good as possible. And in a lot of cases, it's just under the hood, making something like maps or search work better. And it's ideally, for a lot of those people, should just be seamless. It's just new technology that makes their lives more, productive and helps them.
a bunch of folks on the Gemini product and engineering teams spoken extremely highly of you on another dimension that I almost didn't even expect, because I kind of think of you as the like deep scientist and caring about these big research scientific questions. But they also said you're a great product guy, like how to create a thing that a lot of people would use and enjoy using. So can you maybe speak to what it takes to create a AI-based product that a lot of people would enjoy using?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that comes back from my game design days where I used to design games for millions of gamers. People forget about that. I've had experience with cutting edge technology in product.
Right.
That is how games was in the 90s. And so I love actually the combination of cutting edge research and then being applied in a product and to power a new experience. And so I think it's the same skill really of imagining what it would be like to use it viscerally, and having good taste. Coming back to earlier, the same thing that's useful in science, I think is can also be useful in product design. And I've just had a very, always been a sort of multidisciplinary person. So I don't see the boundaries really between, arts and sciences or product and research. It's a continuum for me. I mean, I like working on products that are cutting edge. I wouldn't be able to, have cutting edge technology under the hood. I wouldn't be excited about them if they were just run of the mill products. So it requires this invention, creativity capability.
What are some specific things you kind of learned about when you, even on the LLM side, you're interacting with Gemini?
Yeah.
You're like, this doesn't feel like the layout, the
Yes.
interface, maybe the trade-off between the latency, like how to present to the user, how long to wait,
Hmm.
and how that waiting is shown, or the reasoning capabilities. There's some interesting things because, like you said, it's the very cutting edge. We don't know
Yeah.
how to present it, correctly. So, is there some specific things you've learned?
I mean, it's such a fast evolving space. We're evaluating this all the time. But where we are today is that you want to continually simplify things. Whether that's the interface
Simplify, simplify.
or
Yeah.
what you build on top of the model, you kind of want to get out of the way of the model. The model train is coming down the track and it's improving unbelievably fast. This relentless progress we talked about earlier. You look at 2.5 versus 1.5, and it's just a gigantic improvement. And we expect that again for the future versions. And so the models are becoming more capable. So you've got the interesting thing about the design space in today's world, these AI first products, is you've got to design not for what the thing can do today, the technology can do today, but in a year's time. So you actually have to be a very technical product person, because you've got to kind of have a good intuition for and feel for, okay, that thing that I'm dreaming about now can't be done today, but is the research track on schedule to basically intercept that in 6 months or a year's time? So you kind of got to intercept where this highly changing technology is going, as well as the new capabilities are coming online all the time that you didn't realize before, that can allow like deep research to work. Or now we got video generation. What do we do with that? This multimodal stuff. Is it one question I have is it really going to be the current UI that we have today? These text box chats seems very unlikely. Once you think about these super multimodal systems, shouldn't it be something more like Minority Report, where you're sort of vibing with it in a kind of collaborative way, right? It seems very restricted today. I think we'll look back on today's interfaces and products and systems as quite archaic in just a couple of years. So I think there's a lot of space actually for innovation to happen on the product side as well as the research side.
And then we were offline talking about this keyboard. Is the open question is how, when, and how much will we move to audio as the primary way of interacting with the machines around us versus typing stuff?
Yeah, I mean, typing is a very low bandwidth way of doing it, even if you're a very fast, typer. And I think we're going to have to start utilizing other devices, whether that's smart glasses, audio, earbuds, and eventually maybe some sorts of neural devices where we can increase the input and the output bandwidth to something, maybe 100x of what is today.
I think that, underappreciated art form is the interface design. I think you can not unlock the power of the intelligence of a system if you don't have the right interface. The
Hmm.
interface is really the way you unlock its power.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting question of how to do that.
Yeah.
So you would think like getting out of the way is a real art form.
Yes. It's the sort of thing that I guess Steve Jobs always talked about, right? It's simplicity, beauty, and elegance that we want, right? And we're not there, nobody's there yet, in my opinion. And that's what I would like us to get to. Again, it sort of speaks to like Go again, right? As a game, the most elegant, beautiful game. Can you, can you make an interface as beautiful as that? And actually, I think we're going to enter an era of AI generated interfaces that are probably personalized to you. So it fits the way that your aesthetic, your feel, the way that your brain works and the AI kind of generates that depending on the task. That feels like that's probably the direction we'll end up in.
Yeah, because some people are power users and they want every single parameter on
Right.
screen, everything based like perhaps me with a
Yeah.
keyboard based navigation. I like to have shortcuts for everything, and some people like the minimalism
Just
of
hide all of that complexity. Yeah,
completely.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have a Steve Jobs mode in you as well. This is great. Einstein mode, Steve Jobs mode.